Aye.
It says, Bub joined in portrait orientation. You may wish to tell them to switch to landscape so it matches yours. I also have no video. Only.
Well, no, you don't,
okay.
because I'm on the phone. Oh, God. Oh.
What's going on?
Oh, I stayed out way too late in Vegas.
Are you still in Vegas? I thought you were like flying home this morning. And
No. I got here yesterday.
Ah, okay.
Oh, God.
Mr. Bo partying.
It was not my plan.
Okay.
All right. Let's try to do this best we can.
Okay, hold on. Oh, there we go. Pull that. Oh, why? There we go. All right, let me turn it off. AC. Turning down the fan. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Curmudgeon's Corner for Saturday, September 7th, 2024. It is 1810 UTC as we're starting to record. I'm Sam Minter. Yvonne Bowe is here, sort of, kind of. Hi, Yvonne.
Hi. How are you?
You're so peppy. Everybody? You're so peppy, excited.
I'm peppy. Oh, yeah. Peppy. Peppy and cheap. Yes.
Peppy Le Pew?
Yeah, that's what they call me. Oh, God.
Okay, so we're going to do our butt first, and then we're going to talk more serious topics. So I am going to ask Yvonne to elaborate on his condition a little bit. But first, right off the top, I just want to note that of the podcast version of Curmudgeon's Corner, so not counting the WRCT radio show when we were in college, this here is the 900th episode.
Oh, wow. There you go.
So big milestone. And,
And I decided to arrive perfectly ready to go.
Okay, so I will have my usual movie later, and I said last week it's going to be Ghostbusters 2. But first, Yvonne, what the hell is going on with you? What's happening?
I'm in Vegas.
Yeah.
I got here yesterday. I didn't. I got so because of my work performance in sales.
You're getting an award. I mentioned that last week.
Right. And so it's here in Vegas. And so I arrived yesterday for this. It's going to be through Monday, but then I go home. My wife didn't come because, and understandably, I don't know if you remember how jet lagged she was in Seattle when we visited.
Vaguely.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, if you remember, she
I remember everyone got the flu, but yeah, I don't remember the jet lag.
Oh God, the flu. And we got the flu. But she was very jet lagged. And so she was like, look, this trip, we're going to go there, on a Friday? And then to come back on Monday? And I'm like, no, so it's okay. And so I got to be honest, I was so tired. I got sick last week, as everybody knows that listens to the podcast. But it was not my best week last week. And I was really debating, do I really want to go to Vegas? I'm like, I mean, God, do I really? I mean, I don't care. It'll work. So so okay, fine. Yeah, yesterday I had to get up at a stupidly early hour to go to the damn airport again to get on the damn flight to Vegas, which isn't the short flight. Okay.
So wait, your flight was Friday morning or
Yeah,
this
Friday
morning?
morning. No,
Friday
Friday
morning.
morning.
Okay.
Friday morning. Yes, to fly in yesterday, and then one of the things that happened on the way over is so I've been flying so much that American Airlines they charge for Wi-Fi. Some airlines don't right now, but American does. So they have this thing where either you pay every flight or you sign up for a monthly subscription.
Right,
Well,
right.
given how much I've been flying lately,
You signed up for the monthly
I signed
subscription.
up for the monthly fucking subscription. Doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense to be paying, you know, for every flight. So I got on the plane, I logged in, and I'm on the internet. But it seemed that everybody else was trying to do it not with the subscription, which is most people,
It wasn't working.
try to pay. It wasn't working. So I'm online, and I'd sent some work messages, and I was expecting some responses. Flight that still got 4+ hours to go, in the middle of the day, and some people complained they couldn't connect. So the pilot goes and resets the Wi-Fi. All of a sudden, I noticed that my damn connection gets disconnected. After
Mhm.
they reset the Wi-Fi, it didn't work at all.
Right.
So I couldn't connect back. So I
Beautiful.
spent 4+ hours on the plane, and I'm like, now I think I've said this before. In terms of, oh well, I'm not getting bothered by shit. This is nice. That was good.
Mhm.
But given the
But
length of the flight, the moment I landed, it's like I swear to God, it's like I landed into a fucking, 4 alarm fire of shit that was wrong. And why the hell weren't you answering? We've been looking for you for hours. I'm like, oh, for the love of God. I'm like,
because you used to just be able to say, "Well, I was on a plane," because you weren't able to be contacted on the plane. But now everyone expects you to be online anyway.
correct.
Yeah.
Oh, so I don't know. So I got here yesterday, and then I had to work for a while, and then there was, and they did this thing last night, this little reception, and then I got dragged to dinner, and then I got dragged to a club, and then I must say it was. I'm saying dragged because it wasn't like that was my plan. And then I lost the people that I was with at the that had taken me there, and I said, well, I'll go to the casino. Okay, so
Okay.
I'm gonna say I did. I at one point was up at the blackjack table, well over $300 up.
Okay.
Okay, but I will say that I had pulled out a certain amount of money, and my point of pulling out a certain amount of money was not to make money. It was like, okay, let's see how long we can make this last. Well, it took a long time, but I did get down that I lost all the money. Okay,
Okay.
but that took a very, very long time. And so then after that, I got to the room, and now I'm talking to you.
So you pulled an all nighter.
I stayed. I believe, according to my records, I got to bed somewhere like at 4 in the morning, something like that. I did wake
Okay.
up a little bit ago. I had breakfast and stuff because I knew I was doing this, so I got up and did get some room service breakfast. Thank God that this hotel is a good Vegas, a good Vegas hotel, because there's a whole bunch of hotels here that don't even have even like a mini bar or stuff or whatever. So it does have, it's full service. So I was able to get breakfast put up here, and I ate,
So
and now I'm
so
talking to
so
you.
is the problem you didn't have enough sleep, or is the problem that you like partied hard?
It's all of the above.
Because like, you know, it's here on the West Coast. It's 11 a.m. I've been up for a couple hours, but I also I didn't go to sleep till almost 4 a.m. last night, just because it's a normal Friday night in the Mitra household.
Yeah, but you know, with the drinking,
and with the all I was doing was sitting on the couch watching stuff with Alex.
Exactly.
I wasn't drinking. I wasn't like running around. I was just like chilling with my son doing stuff. So
oh God, yeah. Well, no, I wasn't doing that. Oh God. So anyway,
you sound wonderful.
I sound great. So it's for the second consecutive week that I sound fantastic on Curmudgeon's Corner.
Beautiful.
I'm getting too old for this shit. So
okay, so you got any other butt first stuff, or should I jump right to Ghostbusters 2?
Let's go to Ghostbusters 2.
And I will say as well, like this, I can guarantee you this time that this show is going to be on the short side for our normal stuff, because I have a hard stop after we're recording, because I've got a Zoom call scheduled with my dad, at a certain time. So like,
and I'm not exactly being very peppy. So
no. But maybe we can get you aggravated and angry, and then like that'll like cheer you up.
There you go. I am going to the spa this afternoon. That was like the thing that I chose as an activity. I chose to go to the spa. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to have them try to see if they can rejuvenate me somehow. I don't think it's going to work, or maybe it will.
Who knows? Okay, so Ghostbusters 2. I talked about Ghostbusters last week. We watched a little bit later. We watched Ghostbusters 2. I guess how much later was it? Is it like I'll tell you the speed.
What year did Ghostbusters 2 come out?
I'll get to that. So we watched Ghostbusters on March 24th. We watched Ghostbusters 2 on April 13th. So a few weeks later. But no, Ghostbusters 1 was 1984, and Ghostbusters 2 was 1989. So 5 years later. 5 years.
5 years.
And here's the thing. Like, I remember, like, I've watched the original Ghostbusters more than I've watched Ghostbusters 2. Okay. Like I'd seen both of them before, but I've seen the original Ghostbusters more often than I'd seen Ghostbusters 2. Like
my recollection is that it wasn't as good as the first one.
So here's the thing. That was my recollection too. My recollection going back to seeing it in the theaters in 1989, because I remember I saw Ghostbusters 2 in the theaters in 1989.
Yeah, me too.
And I remember being disappointed by it. And I remember being like, they messed it up. They didn't like do it right. They Ghostbusters was great, and like they missed some of the things that made Ghostbusters good when they made Ghostbusters 2.
This was the one where they had this river of hate thing fluid going through the city, right?
They had the river of hate thing, and they had what is his name? The somebody
Vigo.
The Carpathian Vigo. Yes, that's right. And
I'm pretty sure I haven't watched this movie since then, so I don't know. I remember all this.
Yeah. So anyway, but watching it again, my opinion was different. Like,
really?
Yeah. At various points during it, I was like, I'm not sure. Is this actually better than the first one? And like, I think in the end, I'm gonna say they're roughly similar. They have different strengths and weaknesses, but I think
that maybe I think you just said different strengths and weaknesses. Maybe why it may have been disappointing at the moment, but now with time, I think we're kinder to it, because I think there was something about what you expected as a movie and what you got, and it was different. And I think that may be why, people had a harder opinion of it at the time.
Yeah, and actually, like, there's some things from the original Ghostbusters that watching it many years later feel kind of cringe. Like,
Oh well, Jesus. Yeah.
like, what's his name's character? Hold on, I'll tell you in a second. Rick Moranis, like
Uh-huh.
his character, like, I think like in Ghostbusters 1.
I am the gatekeeper.
Yeah, watching him later, it's sort of like, okay, I can see why that was funny, but it's a little bit cringy. And he was in the second one too, but less
Right.
prominently.
Right.
And I actually think less of him was good.
Okay.
And no shade to the actor or whatever, but it's the character. And there were aspects of the new one that I just felt like were a little bit more fleshed out, and I don't know, it's just there were, I mean, it wasn't like a clear, oh my god, Ghostbusters 2 is actually better. No, but I think it's I think it's like you said, whatever disappointment happened when you were sort of expecting an exact rerun of the original Ghostbusters and to feel exactly the same way, um, that disappears with this many years since then. It was just, oh, okay, this is another good Ghostbusters movie. It was fine. It was good. I am going to actually give it a thumbs up along with the original Ghostbusters.
There
It's
you
like,
go.
it was a fun little movie, and it did its thing. I mean, parts of it were stupid, but like parts
Well,
of the
that's part
original
of
were
right. Exactly.
that's the whole thing. Like, this is not intended as like some serious movie. It's
Right.
intended as a stupid comedy, and it
This is
succeeds at
not a
that.
Shakespeare play. I mean, for God's sake.
No, and I enjoyed. Also, I had forgotten that the oh, where's I'm looking at the cast list. Who's the guy? Um, the guy. Oh, Peter McNichol is in it, and I had seen him in more recent things and had completely forgotten he was in this thing. So when it came on, he's sort of the guy who works at the museum and blah blah blah. His character was a little
Uh-huh.
cringe too. They had less of Rick Moranis, but Peter McNichol's character
Right,
was
because
pretty
he was.
cringy
Yeah,
too.
he was the guy that managed the restoration department, I think, of the artworks or
I
something
think
like
you're
that.
right. Good memory if you haven't watched this since '89.
I haven't watched it. I'm sure in 30 years, so I don't know. Yeah,
Yeah. So but it
and
was
that's where
fine.
Sigourney Weaver was working, right? Because
Yes,
yes,
that's right.
okay.
That's right.
Oh, God.
And so like I liked it, and like I said, I was tempted a few times while watching it, thinking, this is just as good as the first one. Maybe in some ways it's even better.
Ah,
And I know that's it probably really, like, I'm sure I haven't done it. You like to do it. You like to go look at Rotten Tomatoes. I am sure this has a lower rating than the first one. Like
what does it say? I don't know. We haven't.
I don't know. No, I don't have it. I don't have Rotten. Let's look it up.
Data. We need our data. We need data.
Rotten Tomatoes.
Data. Not the robot. Data.
Ghostbusters.
Okay.
Okay.
It's
We
got
got
a 55% Rotten Tomatoes. Not that great.
no, not that great at all compared to 95 for the original. And
Right.
I don't know. I think that's a little harsh. Like,
Yep.
I can see the argument that maybe it's not quite as good as the original, but like half as good? No. It's decent. It's and like I'm looking at this and just preview. I'm not talking about it next week or anytime soon, probably, but we did watch the reboot Ghostbusters in 2016 with the women, and it's up at 74. And there is no way I would put that one ahead of Ghostbusters 2. I mean, I don't think it's that's another one that got a really bad rap, and I don't think it deserves as bad a rap as it got, but I think Ghostbusters 2 is better. So I don't know. Like I'm looking at these various ratings for the Ghostbusters, and I'm like, for the 3 that I've seen, the 4 that I've seen, and I'm like, I don't quite agree with these Rotten Tomato ratings on them. I wouldn't rank them in the same way. But whatever. Different people have different opinions. That's the way the world works. But I enjoyed Ghostbusters 2. It was a fun little stupid romp, just like the first one was a fun little stupid romp. You could tell in a few places, like, they were explicitly. I mean, the whole deal here was the first movie was successful. Let's try to do that again and make some money.
Well, yeah. I mean,
that's what happens with sequels, right?
That's what the sequel is for. Hey, listen, we're gonna invest making this movie $100 million. We got to guarantee, that we're gonna make money. So how do we do that? Oh, great, we'll make a sequel. That's gonna guarantee you. The percentages on the sequels making money are higher than creating just a totally new movie.
So here we go. I'm reading the critical assessment section of Wikipedia. Since its release, Ghostbusters 2 has been labeled as the film that killed the franchise because it made less money from a larger budget than Ghostbusters, and because the filming experience and resulting reception dissuaded Murray from involvement in a third film. While some modern critics continue to criticize it as a bad film or inferior to its predecessor, others argue that it suffers from being compared with Ghostbusters and is otherwise above average. In a 2014 interview, Reitman defended the film, saying while it was unfairly compared to Batman at the time, he felt Ghostbusters 2 still holds up well against a superhero film. Digital Spy defended the film as being as good as or better than Ghostbusters. It said the plot of Ghostbusters 2 is arguably better executed than that of the first film, with multiple threads coming together in a seamless third act with a positive ending that works better with modern audiences. Den of Geek compared it to sequels of other genre-specific classics like Back to the Future Part 2 and Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom, which were considered not as good as the original, but as good films in their own right. While Ghostbusters 2 is perceived as being a bad film, despite a close similarity to the original. Let's see. Deadspin said that, like those aforementioned films, Ghostbusters 2 darker set pieces and comedy made it more suited for adults than children, but that it is better than most people remember. Uprocks called it the ideal film to watch during the New Year's period because it offers an unsubtle, simple morality tale. Rotten Tomatoes 55%. We said that. Thanks to the cast, Ghostbusters 2 is reasonably amusing, but it lacks the charm, wit, and energy of its predecessor. Yeah, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, meanwhile, Den of Geek listed it as the 18th best blockbuster sequel of all time. Okay. 18th best blockbuster sequel.
I don't know.
So
I find that, giving it the, I'm going to say, hey, I'm the 18th best something isn't exactly like.
Well, and not only so, it's a significantly narrowed down something. So this isn't 18th best movie. This isn't the 18th best blockbuster. This
sequel.
Is 18th best blockbuster
sequel.
Yeah. So anyway, it was fun, and apparently the critical reassessment or whatever is sort of what I was saying. Like, I remember being really disappointed when I first saw it, but on the rewatch, I'm like, okay, this isn't bad. I actually kind of like it. So there you go.
Okay,
so that's my thing about Ghostbusters. Oh,
I was going to say Blockbuster.
No, Ghostbusters 2. Sorry. Yeah, we did Ghostbusters last. Okay, so now we will take a break, and then we will do our newsy segments after this. But I will say, Yvonne, I have a surprise for you.
You have a surprise. Oh wow! I'm as you can see, I am just so ready to jump for joy at a surprise.
This is a brand new break.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Okay, you got me.
You ready? It's only about a minute long, I think.
I'm
Maybe not
tingling.
even. You're tingling. Okay.
I'm tingling.
Enjoy this. Here it comes. Okie dokie. Here it comes. It is just my internet being stupid.
My internet is being stupid. It's a new song we will make. I'm tired. What's wrong? I'm really tired.
It's amazing.
Get the show on the road.
There's a road? There's a road? Oh my god, there's a road!
There you go. That's it.
Okay, that break was hilarious. I did not expect that.
Yeah, it was, I could have done more with it, but I just I took a few pieces of something we did in our cold open a few weeks ago and just shoved it together.
That sounds pretty good. That's very impressive.
Okay, well, good. If I had actual skills of some sort, I could make an actual song, but unfortunately I do not have those skills. So it was just, put some stuff together, make the sounds repeat a few times, put some effects on it. I did auto tune your song.
Okay, yeah, well, it didn't really help my singing, but oh well. I mean, my singing is bad. Auto tune is not going to fix it, so no well.
Yeah. Okay, so Yvonne, why don't we start? What newsy stuff would you like to talk about for this segment? Or are you dead and just want me to pick everything?
I'm actually looking at the list.
Okay.
What newsy thing? Well, you did add today. Just think about the Chase glitch.
Oh yes, I thank you for picking this. I have been so amused by this. This is so much fun.
Glitch.
I spent a decent amount of time last night and this morning watching some of these TikToks. So for those of you who don't know, come on, you all know, right? There was a trend. There was a TikTok trend.
Well, I mean, let's see. Hold on, because I haven't watched the TikToks. Let me see if I understood what these idiots were saying.
Okay.
From what I have read. Okay, I'm gonna give my stab, the uneducated stab, which is what I saw is that these guys said, "Hey, make a check to yourself. Basically, take a picture of it, deposit it, and an amount of the funds will be available immediately, and then you can go and withdraw that money, and voila, you've got money."
Yes.
It's just this glitch. These morons not understanding that eventually Chase will catch up with it, and they will deduct the deposit because the check had insufficient funds.
Right.
And then just, you will owe all the money. I mean, I don't understand how these people are this stupid. I guess maybe it's just because we don't use checks as much anymore, so people don't understand it.
Yeah, I saw people arguing that was part of it, but I think it goes deeper than that. Because obviously these are people that had checks because there are lots of people who have never even been exposed to checks, right? But in order to do this, you had to.
That if you open a checking account at Chase, you automatically get some checks.
You probably do. But anyway, look, So a couple of additional elements here. So one, this is relying on the fact that most banks at this point, if your account is in good standing and blah, 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 and you deposit a check, they will give you access to some amount of that money right away and then wait for the rest to clear, right?
Well, they usually, well, that's not, well, let's be clear. They'll give you full access to the money there is usually
up to a
deposit limit that you have, a daily deposit limit. And so say your deposit limit daily is $2,000.
Mm-hmm.
So if you deposit under $2,000, you will get access
it all
to the funds immediately. Right.
Yeah. So what happened here? So for is that first that was going on, but also Chase did apparently have, there was a real glitch, which was that limit was not being applied. Okay. So people were doing this with checks.
So they were able to deposit amounts in excess. Well, actually, I will tell you what was happening. What was happening is that for checks that are from Chase.
Yes, that is exactly what was happening.
If it's a Chase itself transaction, they usually will waive the limit because it's like an interbank. It's inside their bank, and so the limit will be waived. Yes.
Now,
correct.
You'd think in that scenario, though, they would check the balance because they're Chase and it's internal and they have the ability to instantly tell if you have the money for the check. But apparently they didn't. So people were writing $50,000 and $100,000 checks to themselves with this scam.
Okay.
And they were withdrawing the cash immediately to try to get it out. And they were, the whole thing was being presented on TikTok as hey, there's this glitch, just go in, you can get your free money, isn't this awesome, blah, 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 blah. And there are all kinds of videos of people videoing themselves doing this, getting tons and tons of cash and filming themselves dancing with the cash and stuff. Okay. And so here it is almost impossible to overstate how stupid these people are. Okay.
Yes.
But first of all, apparently, and in watching a lot of these videos, there are a bunch of videos out on TikTok. There's the original videos of the people themselves, documenting themselves doing this and encouraging other people to do it as well. But then there's tons and tons of people dissecting how stupid they are, offering their services as lawyers, all kinds of other stuff. Because the funny part is, first you've got this wave of videos of these people saying, "Oh, there's this glitch, go do it," and filming themselves doing it, filming themselves happy with money, and then a day later,
the wave of regret. It's like being in Vegas, basically.
Then there's a wave of videos where people
are awesome the party is.
Yeah. Well, but the wave of the next wave of wait. There's multiple waves of videos here because the immediate next wave after the joyous withdrawal of the money is people showing their apps suddenly having huge negative balances. and they're like, what the fuck? Chase is taking my money. And
Chase is taking my money. No, they're not taking your money. They're taking their money back, you assholes.
And then you've got some of them documenting themselves calling Chase customer service to ask where their money went and why Chase was stealing their money.
Oh, these geniuses.
Okay, and then
Chase explained to them, "Listen, you fucking."
Yes. And by the way, Chase, the Chase TikTok account has been reposting these videos from all these people.
Oh, smart.
Okay, but then the third wave. Is people starting to realize that they have committed federal felonies.
Well, it's basically, if I remember correctly, this is check kiting.
Yeah, this is flat out
which
check
is a
fraud of a
it's
kind that has existed for a long time.
well,
And
it's really straight up check kiting, which
yes,
people, which companies have
it's
been,
check kiting is the name we used for it decades ago. It's
yeah,
a sub form of check fraud. It's a sub
yeah.
form of bank fraud.
Yeah. So
But
for all of
but
you not familiar with check kiting in the past, okay, one of the things that happened was a lot was that say you deposited a check from a bank in
Yvonne is glitched. Are you still there, Yvonne?
I am here for some reason. I'm getting called by an idiot. Okay.
Okay. Imagine you had like
Imagine
banks on
you,
opposite sides of the country
of the
back in the
country.
day when things were slow.
Back in the day. So back then, for a check to clear from a bank across the other side of the country, it took sometimes up to a couple of weeks. Okay,
Yep.
that was the longest time before all these transactions went pretty much
Because the physical check had to move around.
Correct.
It had to be sent from place to place. It went
Yep.
from your local bank to a regional center for the bank to a clearinghouse to the
Yep.
other bank. You know,
Yep.
the actual piece of paper had to like make the cross country journey,
Right.
and things had to go back and forth. Like back in
Right.
the day, this stuff was slow, and so it gave you a period of time where potentially if the bank was trusting you for that check, like
Right.
we were talking about the, you know, they would front you some amount as soon as you deposited it.
Well, I will tell you that if you were really good with a bank, they would give you the full amount available immediately.
It all depends on like how much the bank trusted you, right?
And you had companies that got caught doing this, where what they were doing is like move what the fraud the big fraud part was you had accounts in two different banks. You would be depositing checks from your other account to that account. You knew it would take 2 weeks, and so you would do is that you would basically be borrowing that money for that time period. Okay, up until you know, and many times what happened was usually the people would deposit the money by the time that it was needed at the other bank. So that was the check kiting. E.F. Hutton, which was purchased by Merrill Lynch, which is now part of Bank of America, is one of the biggest retail.
And they had those John Houseman commercials.
Yes, but E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Yes, they had
exactly.
that. Okay. Yeah, and so they got caught in this fraud where they were doing that repeatedly, and I mean it was to the tune of hundreds. I think it was hundreds of millions of dollars, and they got heavily fined. They were doing that. There were businesses that did that. My father got caught doing this. Okay, between a couple of banks. Okay, you know, to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. Now the thing is, unlike these guys that wound up a negative balance, for the most part, when they were doing it, you would be depositing the money by the time it was required at the other account. So what you were creating is you were creating this loan.
You were creating a temporary loan to yourself that you were able to patch back before. Like it's still fraud, just to be clear.
It's fraud, but that was but these guys were putting the money in the bank in time. So now these morons, not understanding that they were creating a check kite, but they were never going to deposit the money. They just thought that we
free money,
made money magically out of thin air.
And look, there are videos of lines at Chase Banks, 20 people deep, waiting to do this at the ATM. You know, and so so now there are these videos of people going, "Oh crap!" Chase has started to like there have now been people arrested. Still a relatively small number, but they're sort of working their way through the list of everybody who did this. I presume they've, because here's the thing. Look, another thing to remember. Apparently, these people thought this was all just, free money glitch. Everything's okay. I'm just gonna get the free money. No one's gonna care. But yes, federal crime. B, you're stealing from the bank. other federal crime. But then you are using your own bank account.
Right. You idiot.
You are using a check that you wrote. They have all
they have
your
you, that's
information. There's no like, I've seen a few people trying to claim that in some way or another it wasn't them, or this guy just came up to me and gave me a check and told me to deposit it, and so I deposited it for him and then gave him the money. Whatever. No. No, I'm sorry. No, like maybe there were a few people out there that were smart and were like, "Hey, I want to do this, but I don't want to do it myself, and so I'll get some random patsy to do it for me." But most of these people absolutely were just doing it themselves, thinking it was fine. But all the information is right there, and like a whole bunch of you posted the damn thing on TikTok too.
Of course they did.
Not
they posted. You didn't do it.
They posted the fact that they were going to do it. Then they posted themselves doing it. Then they posted videos of themselves spending the money. Hey, I'm going to go buy this big screen TV now. Dudes. And like then there are all these videos of people being like, I'm scared. What's going to happen to me? And then there's like lawyers coming on and replying to them and saying, what's going to happen to you? You are going to jail.
There you
go. you are going, the money is gone and you are going to jail. Get yourself a lawyer right now to see if they can negotiate down how much time you're going to spend in jail, but you are going to jail. And oh, by the way, once you get out of jail, you're never going to have a bank account again. And you are never probably going to be hired again by any reputable employer. And nobody's going to rent to you. And, go down the list, it's like
idiots.
And so you see, these video progressions of like the person sort of gleefully doing this thing and then realizing what they've done and being like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? On the one hand, I feel some
these people. But I mean, how much money do you see these people do?
So I have seen everything from. There are a few people who only did like $1,000 or $2,000, but there are people who did up to 100,000.
Oh my God! Well, those are the people that are don't go to jail.
Yeah,
$1,000, you can you can figure out. Oh, you pay it back. I mean,
I saw one video of a guy who'd done this and now has the negative balance and was like, Chase wants I got scammed. I don't know what I'm doing. But Chase wants $50,000 and they set up a GoFundMe.
Wait, asshole. You had the 50,000. Okay.
I'm sure like they spent it already.
Exactly. It's not like the 50,000 was for a medical bill or something or whatever. No, you went and you took out $50,000 from the bank and you spent it on bullshit. And now you want people to do a GoFundMe to help you because you fucking decided to party on stolen $50,000. That's not what GoFundMe is supposed to be. For.
Anyway, I have such mixed feelings. On the one hand, I somewhat feel for the ones of these people.
Can I do a negative deposit in a GoFundMe? Can I just take money from his GoFundMe? Because that would be the best thing to do to this guy. Just, hey, no, now you owe money on GoFundMe, dick.
So, look, for the folks here who really and truly seem like they were clueless and thought this was fine, I feel a little bit sorry for them, but at the same time, I'm like, how can you possibly be that stupid? I'm sorry. And then there's like people trying to talk seriously about this and about like, oh, this points to how we need better financial education in schools and blah blah blah, because obviously the education system has failed these people. Yeah, and you know, and most of these people, by the way, are people who clearly were lower on the income scale, and like this was like life-changing amounts of money, and so they were like, oh, a free way to get like thousands of dollars, I'm in, without thinking any further about it. And it's like, oh man, really?
No,
I mean, anyway, like I you know, I don't know, like if I was Chase, I would, I don't know, like you have to go after some of these people, but I would concentrate on the ones that really did lots and lots of money. And on the lower end, like the people who did this with a few hundred or even a couple $1,000s,
set up a payment plan for them to go the money back.
I would be like, exactly. I'd be like, look, you have to pay the money back. And by the way, some fees and fines and things like that. But we'll set you up a payment plan for it. We're not going to try to put you in jail because you were just a dumbass. Okay. Right. You weren't trying to commit fraud here, or I guess you were trying to commit fraud, but you didn't know what you were doing. You were obviously an idiot. So let's set you up a payment plan. We don't have to put you in jail for 20 years. But the guy who pulled $100,000, you're going to jail. Sorry.
I need to do a meeting where I go with somebody that is obviously an idiot and tell them flat out, you know, hey, well, I don't think I've done this. I just said, listen, you're obviously an idiot. So we're gonna try to help you. Okay. I have not used that line in a meeting, but I gotta figure out a meeting where I could use this. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, and Chase has not yet, said publicly how big this thing was. Like, but I've seen.
Sure, I mean, Chase. Well, the reality is, and the size of how Chase is.
No. Compared to the size of Chase, it's going to be tiny because Chase is huge, right?
$1 trillion in assets.
I've heard people estimating, like, and again, Chase is not saying publicly how many people have done this, how many people that are going after, or how much money was involved. But I've seen people estimating based on just how much has been posted publicly of people admitting to doing this, that we're probably talking on the order of $90 to $100 million worth of this.
Wow. Man, jeez. Wow.
Because there are lots of people did it. Lots of people saw the TikTok thread and were like excited about the free money and went to do it.
Jesus. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, like you said, for Chase, 100 million isn't that much, but still.
But it's still a lot of money.
Yeah. But I will tell you,
Did you do it?
Yes, I did it. Okay. That guy who got $100,000 cheap. I got like 500. And
there you go.
And
when are you leaving the country?
Oh God, yeah, no, I've already left.
That had to be your plan, bozo. I mean, look, hey, let me get like, $100,000, and this is my final act before I flee the country.
Yeah, and the excuses from these people on these videos is it's just dumbfounding, and these people who still like, there was one video I watched of this woman who's like, okay, look, I am going to talk to a lawyer. I'm going up right now. I have an appointment. I'm going to go talk to a lawyer. And because all you people on the internet who are replying to me telling me that, this was a crime and I did something wrong. Well, you guys aren't lawyers. You don't know the law. So I'm going to go talk to a real lawyer about it.
And?
She didn't post another video after that.
You don't have to be a fucking lawyer to realize that something is a crime.
Yeah, several people replied to that. And one of them was like, actually, I am a lawyer. I'm specifically a lawyer who specializes in financial fraud. And yeah, you better go talk to that lawyer. And I'm sure the lawyers, for the reason there are no more videos, at least there weren't as of last night when I checked, the first damn thing the lawyer is going to say is shut the fuck up. And the lawyer is going to say, look, you are going to jail. I'll see if I can bring it down as low as I can, but sorry, you're going to jail. They got you completely. We now just need to minimize the damage. Or like we said, Chase's, from a pure PR perspective, Chase would be well served by going light on the small time players who were
right.
So maybe they'll get lucky, but like other people are like, no, Chase is going to throw the book at them.
Yeah. No,
Chase has no reason
sure
not to.
No, I'm sure that the people who are like, look, if you pay back the money, because it happens that people get overdrafted. You have to pay.
There were a few people who posted that said they did this, and they got a notice from Chase saying they have to fix the negative balance. They've got 30 days to fix the negative balance before Chase goes after them.
Exactly. So yeah, if you do it quickly enough, it's like, no harm, no foul.
Yeah, they'll add some fines just to be clear.
Yeah. But
you're going to pay back what you stole plus some. But maybe you can avoid going to jail if you fix it quick. But I was going to say, if any of them were smart, none of them are smart or they wouldn't have done this. But if you took the money but didn't spend it,
put it back in.
Go deposit it right back right now.
Right now.
But if you got the money and just spent it all already, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So anyway.
You
got another one, or should we take a break and go on? And
take a break and you got to pick. I did the picking.
You did the picking. It was a very exciting picking. Exiting, yes, as you always say. Okay, I will take a break, and of course, since we didn't do it in the first segment, I'm going to do election politics and everything around Trump and Harris and blah 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 blah. There's other stuff going on in the world, but hey, that's what it's going to be. We'll be back after this.
Mm-hmm.
What? No, that was bad. Oh no, that was bad too. No, I don't like that either. Once upon a rainbow, you were on the floor, eating the bugs that you found upon my face. No, that's what? Bye. Okay, here we are. So, we got a bunch of stuff going on. Let me go through the list just sort of in the order that it came up during the week. I did have some notes about talking about how the media is handling election 2024, but we'll do that some other time. We got RFK Jr. and his ballot removal efforts. Now that he has endorsed Trump and he's trying to get off the ballot, here's the thing. It's interfering with things in a variety of ways because his decision came really late. So just as an example, and his success has been different. Like in some states, they've immediately said, okay, fine, you're off the ballot. In other states, they've said, no, too late. You can't pull yourself off the ballot. And in others, it is actively going back and forth in court right now. So it's unclear what the result is. But he also specifically decided, by the way, when he quote unquote dropped out, he actually said, I'm not dropping out. I'm just endorsing Trump, and I'm going to take myself off the ballot in the states where my presence might hurt Trump. Okay. So he's leaving himself on the ballot in states where he feels like it wouldn't make a difference or he would hurt Harris. Which I don't think there's any place left where his presence hurts Harris, because as we talked about a couple weeks ago, once she took over from Biden, basically all of the people who were for him as a placeholder because they didn't like Biden, but were basically more left than right, more Democrat than Trumpy, all left and went to Harris. So he was basically hurting Trump everywhere, but he was only really trying to get his name off the ballot in swing states where it might make a difference. One example that's still, I don't think the court fights are over yet, but I was going to have as one of the things I mentioned on the show that Friday, September 6th, the one that just passed, was supposed to be the first day that ballots for November actually were mailed out. The start of early voting in the first state, which would have been North Carolina, the ballots were going to be mailed out as we're recording this yesterday.
Wow.
All the ballots were printed and ready to go. They were going to be mailed yesterday, and they had RFK's name on it. So when RFK originally said, I want my name off, North Carolina, this was in North Carolina. North Carolina said, sorry, too late. Your name is already on the ballots. They're already being printed. They are going out this week. RFK went to court and got a judge to say, nope, you got to take him off the ballot, and halted the mailing of those ballots. And is I'm sure this is going to go through a couple more layers of court before it's final, but those ballots did not get mailed yesterday. And as of the current court order, all of these ballots have to be remade and reprinted without Kennedy on them, which the being said, like the local, these ballots are printed at the local, like county level, because there's all kinds of local races too, right? So your ballot is not just like one ballot for North Carolina.
Right.
Every local jurisdiction has a different ballot because you've got, mayors and state reps and like the local whatever, blah, 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 all of these races on them. And
school boards and other stuff, yeah.
And apparently the way you have to do it, there's also like, you can't just sort of erase his name and leave a gap for whatever reasons they have. You have to actually reflow the ballot and redesign the ballot. So like if you take out that space and that makes things move in terms of like what column they're in and where they are, then you have to redo that. And then you have to validate that all of the auto ballot counting stuff that you set up is still working on the new ballot. Like it should, right? The software is good for this stuff, but there are required steps where you have to validate that all of that is working before you send out the ballots in the first place. Because you want to catch an issue. Like if you've done something stupid on the ballot and the software can't read it, you want to catch it before you send out the ballots, right? Or before you even print like them in large quantities. And so you've got all of these local jurisdictions that have to do the new ballots are complaining because they did not budget for that. And this is going to cost across the state of North Carolina millions and millions of dollars to redo the ballots at this stage. That was not budgeted for. So they're scrambling for money. They're scrambling to figure out how to do it. And you can see why they might not want to do this. Because it was just too, like literally pallets of ballots were ready to go into the mail. Like, and so they're fighting that, but like, I was gonna say, the election has started, ballots are out, people are starting to vote already, but no, because it's been delayed by RFK Jr. There are a few other states that weren't quite as dramatic as North Carolina, but similar battles are going on because deadlines were missed, but RFK is trying to get judges to say do it anyway. He's saying I can't be forced to be on the ballot against my will, stuff like that. So anyway, that's the RFK thing. Any thoughts, Yvonne?
Well, I mean, I think that at this point, if it's too late, it's too late. It is what it is. I mean, there's not much else that he could do. I mean, he decided to do this, to withdraw from the ballot way, way, way too late down the road. So,
well, but apparently he's getting like some sympathetic judges in some states are saying, yeah, I know you were past the deadline, but it's going to have to be changed anyway. And the states are having to scramble to do it and or pay for appeals. And so regardless, there's some delay here. Like there's some early voting that could have been happening as early as now that is not going to happen quite yet. Of course, this is still, I mean, my God, it's September.
2 months. Yeah,
it's the beginning of September.
Right.
I mean, I am fine with like having a voting period that is not a single day. Like the idea of early voting, I have no problem with it. But 2 months is pretty long. Like, okay.
Yeah.
But there's more states coming online. Like within the next week, 2 weeks, there are going to be a bunch of states that are already sending out their earliest early vote stuff. Even in North Carolina, like this was specifically the people who had registered for vote by mail, which in North Carolina, even at the height of the pandemic, was only like 10% or something like that, and now is more like 5% of the vote. So, and regular in-person early vote is later in the process. So, we're talking small numbers that early vote in September. Once we get to October, it starts getting huge. But yeah. So
yeah,
we'll see. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were going to say something. You were like,
no. Oh, I'm sorry. My body is grunting. Never mind.
Okay. Next up, that's election tangential anyway. I haven't followed this in detail, but I thought I'd be remiss in not mentioning the DOJ did an indictment based on another Russian influence operation, where apparently through a number of intermediary organizations, basically the Russians were paying a whole bunch of conservative influencers, specifically MAGA type influencers, all kinds of money to increase their alignment with what the Russians wanted to project and to get their message out there. Some of this was through RT, some of it was elsewhere. You got a whole bunch of these people, like Tim Pool, I think is the biggest name that would be recognized. There are a bunch of folks that, unless you are embedded in, the right wing sort of online culture, we probably don't know. They're not like the big ones who are on TV and stuff for the most part. But like a bunch of them are like, we're the victims here. We had no idea. We had no idea that this money was coming from Russia, and we whatever. And in some cases, maybe they are stupid enough. Maybe it's like the Chase Glitch people. They're just really idiots. In other cases, it's like, okay, come on.
No, it's just so stupid. I mean,
and also they're like, oh, I am such a victim. I was getting $100,000 a month, and I just didn't look into where it was coming from. I'm such a victim.
I mean, Sam. I mean, did you check our Patreon? We weren't getting paid. I guess the Russians didn't find us useful.
Where's our 100,000 a month from the Russians? I mean, come on.
Right. A month.
You know.
Fuck.
Now they for the like correct. Like I said, I haven't been following this to the degree I should have. Are they indicting these actual influencers or just the intermediaries who are paying them?
I don't know. I know I saw the mentions and I saw them, the people like involved, but I must admit that I did not delve into the details of.
Yeah, I honestly didn't care enough to look into the details.
I was just like, no, it just wasn't so. It was like I think I read it and I kind of like, gee, what a fucking surprise! Not, I mean, what the hell?
Well, and the other thing that the DOJ has said is like they've done this indictment on this Russian influence operation, but they've said like, look, they are not alone.
Right.
The Chinese are doing this.
Yep.
The Iranians are doing it. There were a number of other countries doing it. Practically. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if every country is doing it. Even like little bitty countries that don't have that much money to spend, they're going to do a little bit, like try to influence the Americans to like us more. I don't know. And of course, I'm sure we're doing it all over the world as well. Like this.
I think that the way that we do these are different to a certain extent, but are we going and like obviously trying to spread a message that is favorable to our interests? Absolutely. But it in my from what I've seen, it's more stuff like the straight up like stuff like, well, Voice of America, all this other stuff that we put we put these stories out there and so forth, and we spread it.
Yeah, we do the public stuff, but I guarantee you we're doing the covert stuff as well.
I don't think the thing is that whatever we are doing covert is not in the same brazen method in terms of, hey, let me find a Twitter guy over there, let me just give him $100,000 a month kind of thing. Probably something more subtle.
Maybe, but I wouldn't be surprised if we take people who are influencers across the world who we think are promoting messages that we like. And to be clear, this is slightly different from telling them what to say, but instead it is finding people who are already saying things that we like. And I think that's what the Russians were doing as well. And supporting them, making it easier for them to get out their message. And I mean financially as well.
Patreon them.
Yeah, dump some money into their Patreon. Give them, say that, hey, we like what you're doing, and in order to help you do more of it, we're going to give you X amount per month. I'm sure we're doing that.
Yeah.
And some of it publicly and some of it, secretly, I'm sure. So this is happening all over the place, but apparently, just in terms of US stuff, like, I mean, I guess this is part of the goal too, of like, make it so nobody trusts anything. But really, I mean, there's no way to have, in a good way, know, hey, is what you are seeing really truly authentic, or is it some part of some organized influence campaign, either domestic or foreign? It's like, I don't know, unless it's like a particular individual that for some reason a lot about and trust. I don't know. And even then, like, who the hell knows what's going on in their private finances?
Who knows?
So we know nothing. So, so part of that is like, a lot of this puts stuff out there or helps get it boosted. But this is where it comes to, when you're looking at stuff, you have to also be evaluating, have some sort of method for cross-checking. And like, I admit sometimes I'm better at this and sometimes I'm worse, and it depends on how much I trust the source. And if my trust is misplaced, I can get fooled. And a few times I've posted stuff that later I'm like, oh crap, that was like bullshit, and then
Alpha
but
Bank.
we did not fall for Alpha Bank. Okay.
No.
On this show, we consistently said that Alpha Bank was bullshit.
It sounds, yeah.
But, and this is again, coming back to the Chase glitch. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is.
Right.
And, even like, I'll go back to the Steele dossier on Donald Trump. I think like there's a lot of it that was true. There's a lot of it that was not true. There's even more that's never been verified. But I think what we do know convincingly at this point is that it was essentially stuff that the Russians were intentionally trying to get out there to confuse the issue, and so, yeah, like disinformation campaigns work now, especially if you go for the stuff that just seems plausible. Like it matches the narrative. It matches what you think might be true. And the Steele dossier was explicitly framed as, these are just the rumors we're hearing on the street. Like we haven't been able to verify one way or another.
Right.
And like it falls in there were some true things, there were some false things, and the vast majority are things that just can't be proven one way or the other. It's just, no, they haven't been verified. They haven't been proven false either. They just can't be.
Sam, that's going to be the October surprise. The PP tape finally.
If the P tape comes out next month, that would, or indictments about Alpha Bank.
There you go.
Alpha Bank is proved to be true, and no, I don't know. There probably is a P tape, right?
There may be.
There may be. I don't know. The P tape is one of those things where he's so germophobic, like it almost seems like that doesn't quite match.
He's crazy.
He is crazy. Anyway,
enough
of
RFK Jr. like sawing heads off whales.
He sawed a head off whale. He did the thing with the bear. I saw a video this morning. I don't know if it was new or just resurfaced, but like it had him like in like some room somewhere, and he pans his like phone camera to the side, and there's like this grasshopper sitting on like a couch, and he's like, look, this is cool. It's a so-and-so grasshopper. I forget he identified like the species of grasshopper or whatever. And then he just reaches out and grabs it, and he holds it up to the camera, like in his fist. He's holding the grasshopper, and it looks like he like did it in such a way that the grasshopper was fine. The grasshopper was not in distress, but he was holding the grasshopper, blah, 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 up to the camera and talking about the grasshopper. And then some guy cuts into the video, because this was somebody reposting it, and was like, dude, as soon as the camera is off, he's going to eat that thing.
Oh, God. You.
Because he just now has that reputation, right? He's gonna eat the dog. He ended up leaving the bear in Central Park, but apparently his original plan was to take it home and eat it. I don't know if he was going to eat the whale head or not.
Is he friends with Kristi Noem?
Yeah, probably is. Anyway, enough about the Russian influence op. It's going on. There were indictments. A lot of conservative hanger-oners of the constant grift types were implicated in it. And there's a lot more going on that there haven't been indictments on, and it's just out there. And be as careful as you can, but whatever. Okay, next. The Trump DC case is finally moving again. So a schedule was set. There will be no there's no mini trial scheduled at this point. But there's a deadline in late September for the special counsel to submit briefings. This is all on like what is or is not changed on the immunity because of the SCOTUS immunity decision. Obviously, the special counsel already did the superseding indictment that we talked about last week, but now they have to make their arguments about like what is affected, what is not affected, and why, blah, blah, blah. All of that is in. There is expected to be evidence included in these arguments. So not just here's the legal argument, but also here's how it applies to specific evidence that we intend to use in the case. And then a week or so after the special counsel's deadline on that is the deadline. Maybe it's 2 weeks. I forget, something like that. Early October, there is a deadline for the defense to submit their thoughts on this whole issue, including rebuttals to anything the special counsel said. And then there will be an actual hearing on the issue, like, I don't know, a week before the election or 2 weeks before the election. It's very like end of October. And so that's moving again. And there's going to be, there were a lot of people pushing for like a whole little mini trial, calling witnesses and stuff before the election. The judge was not like, this is not the direction she's going. She's all of these are going to be done in legal briefings. And then there's going to be, perhaps a hearing in front of her, but not like all the witnesses and stuff. That's all going to be in documents. She will decide at that point if she feels she needs that kind of thing before the real trial. Well, not only before the real trial, before she decides. Because the thing that's going to happen on this, by the way, just in case it's not clear to everybody, is she has to decide what's in and what's out and how she's going to treat all of this stuff. But then no matter what she decides, well, especially if she decides against Donald Trump, but pretty much no matter what she does, it's going to get appealed again. And it's going to go all the way up to the Supreme Court again before it actually comes back down. So she also said she's not even going to bother trying to set an actual trial date because she's sure that whatever she does here, it's going to get appealed. And so there's going to be another long delay while this goes up to Supreme Court and back. So basically the schedule of this is, we're going to have that hearing in late October. She's probably not going to make a decision until after the election, sometime in November. And then whatever she does, it's going to get appealed again. And then we're probably waiting another 6 to 9 months before this thing could come back to her again to continue. So and that's assuming that Donald Trump doesn't win and make the whole thing go away.
Wow.
So at the moment it's moving, and there are a whole bunch of steps and documents and things like that we're going to see over the next 2 months. But it is what it is. It's moving. Things are happening. There's news related to it. There's going to be more news related about it before the election. But we're not going to get to even assuming Harris wins, we're not going to get to an actual trial of Donald Trump on the January 6th stuff till probably late next year.
Okay.
Not even early next year, probably late next year. So again, we've talked before about how frustrating, all 4 of these cases, but also just apparently our legal system in general is so fucking slow. And Donald Trump is a master of making it go even slower. So
that he's definitely shown himself a depth. Absolutely.
Okay. Since we're talking his legal cases, the other one was the sentencing in the New York trial was also delayed till after the election. It was supposed to be like the 18th of September. And the steps were, once again, in this one, Donald Trump is also saying, hey, we need to figure out how the immunity decision changes this. And there was going to be, they're submitting their briefs on that. I believe that's already done. The judge was going to give his answer to how the immunity stuff affected this case, because in this case, Donald Trump is saying that while the crime itself wasn't necessarily covered by immunity, they used evidence that was covered by immunity, so the whole thing needs to be thrown out.
Right. So and I know that they're going through it and trying to. I mean, they did go through all of that and try to figure out what to leave, what in. What
well, no, that's the January 6th case. We're talking New York now.
Oh, you talking? No, yeah. Yeah. I forgot that. Yeah, this guy. Yeah,
you forgot I switched.
I forgot. Yeah, but it's just so many of them moved all of a sudden this week, all at once.
Yeah, and so the New York one, he was going to make the decision on whether or not the fact that there was some evidence included that could now be argued to be immune. Yeah, there are two questions there. Was that evidence actually immune? And if it was it substantial enough that it affected the verdict and you have to throw out the proceedings so far? And so he was going to make that decision on the 16th and then have sentencing on the 18th, assuming he didn't dismiss the case. But now he's delayed both of those steps. I expected, frankly, that the sentencing would not happen. I'd said on the show before that what I expected to happen was that the judge would rule against Donald Trump and say, no, whatever issues with the evidence were not substantial enough to affect the verdict, so we're going to proceed with sentencing. And I expected that at that point, Trump would appeal and then everything else would be delayed and the sentencing would be put out. And apparently the judge has some ability to say whether they can do that intermediary appeal or whether they would have to wait. But the judge just punted the whole damn thing. He's not even I did not expect the actual sentencing to happen before the election. I expected that to be delayed. I did expect that the judge would actually make the decision on whether or not this evidence tainted the case enough to dismiss it before the election. But no, he pushed that out into November too. So he's basically like, I'm not deciding anything on this case until we get to November, which is in sharp contrast. And he said explicitly, like, this is because of the election. I don't want any appearance whatsoever that I am making decisions in a way that my purpose is to influence the election. So we're just going to wait until after the election happens. Whereas Judge Chunkin on the January 6th case said exactly the opposite. She's like, I don't care about the election. The election is not my concern. My concern is these charges. And so I'm going to set a schedule accordingly. Like the Trump's lawyer kept saying, we need to delay all this stuff till after the election. And she's like, no, not doing that. And people have said the cases are a little bit different based on the phase they are. Like one is pre-trial, one is post-trial, etc. But fundamentally, I feel like the same arguments could apply, and they've taken diametrically opposed positions. Chunkin was like, I am responsible. Like the political thing would be if I let the election and the fact that Donald Trump is a candidate in an election affect me, that would be being influenced by the politics of the scenario. I have to treat him just like any other defendant. And like for any other defendant, I don't care what's going on in their job. I don't care what's going on in their personal life. That's not part of my problem. I'm setting the schedule for all of this stuff just as, hey, you're a person, you're on trial, you've got these crimes, and this is the amount of time we need in order to resolve the issues we need to resolve. Whereas the New York judge was like, I really don't want to appear like I am trying to put my thumb on the election. And so I'm not doing anything more until after the election. So, and part of the New York judge's argument as well, and I don't know if this was a mistake on the part of the prosecutors in New York or actually intentional on their part, when asked for Trump asked for this to be delayed, and the New York prosecutors had to put in a brief with their opinion as well. And rather than argue not to delay, they just said, we leave it up to the hands of the judge. And I heard some people at the time praise that as like, look, this is the right thing to do. They don't want to appear like political. They don't want to put their thumb on the scale either. But the judge basically said, look, from what the prosecutors said and the way they said it, I think they actually agree and want the delay too. So we're delaying. So, and I heard someone speculate that another factor in all this may also be safety, because a whole bunch of the people involved, I mean, the judge and the prosecution have had steady streams of death threats like throughout this whole process. And maybe they're just actually worried about, like, if the judge actually sentenced Donald Trump to anything other than, you know, a fine and a short probation or something like that, that, you know, the judge would and the judge and his family would actually be in physical danger. I don't know if that was part of it or not. He certainly didn't say so, but I've heard that speculation as well. So we are not having a sentence for Donald Trump. And the one other thing I'll say on that is there were also people talking about, well, you know, can you imagine if he actually went to jail before the election? He was never going to go to jail before the election. It would have been stayed pending appeal regardless. But knowing what he was sentenced to might make a difference to some people. But in terms of the political effect, it's unclear what it would be. On the one hand, yeah, okay, convicted criminal, sentenced to jail, whatever. Presumably there are at least a few people who would be turned off by that, who are currently Trump supporters. But on the other hand, it would probably energize and enrage a bunch of them, make them want to vote for him even more. So, like, what effect it would have, if any, is completely unclear. Any thoughts, Yvonne, or have you fallen asleep? Or are you gone? Yvonne? Yvonne? Hello?
Here. What?
Are you there?
Still here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Did you fall asleep, Mr. Bo? What?
I'm pumping out. I'm running out of energy.
Okay, so you were falling asleep. Okay, we'll wrap this up pretty quickly then. You feel free to nap some more and just chime in if anything entices you.
I mean, there's not much to say in terms of, you know, any of these cases right now, other than the summary that you gave. To be honest, I mean, we had a lot of activity and things all of a sudden happened, motions, things.
Yeah, on these two, and the other two are indefinitely paused. The one in Florida, of course, was dismissed, and that's being appealed. But the schedule for that appeal is going to last months. It'll be a long time till we get, you know, any sort of result on whether or not the Florida one gets reinstated and whether or not it goes back to Judge Cannon or to somebody else. And the one in Georgia is similarly like on a long pause while the decision to let Fani Willis stay on that case is appealed. And that's also going to take months and months and months.
Right.
So, like, really the only one that was expected to actually come to anywhere approaching a conclusion was the New York one, and then that towards late November now. And even then, like, you know, you're going to have years of appeals on all of these, even after you get to sentencing. But the New York one was the closest to actually getting to an end point, and it's pushed back a couple months too. So, you know, like we had, you know, one of our annual prediction show things was how many of these 4 cases would actually get to a conclusion this year. I think you said 3 and I said 2. It looks like by the end of the year we're talking 1, and that's not going to be before the election. But you might actually get to a verdict in the New York case, or possibly a dismissal at the end of November. So you will get it this year, just not before the election. And the other three, they're going to be going on for years. Like,
Yeah.
well, again, if Harris wins, if Trump wins, these are done. Like, well, if Trump wins, he's going to dismiss the federal ones. Like the two federal ones, he will make sure the DOJ drops them as soon as he's sworn in. The state ones are more complicated. Can't dismiss those. He can't order anything on those. However, courts in the past have on civil cases, mind you, but I'm almost certain they would do the same thing. They basically would, like, if he was actually being sworn in as president, would just pause the case for 4 years and say, we'll get back to this once he's not president anymore.
Right. Yeah.
So, like, yeah, while in theory he can't dismiss the New York, Georgia cases, in practice, I think both cases would end up paused. Now, if he wins and then New York sentences him to jail anyway, again, it's going to be appealed, and so the appeals will be paused. He's not going to go to jail before he becomes president. He's not going to have to be president from jail, anything like that. It would just all be paused for 4 years. And then at the end of that, it gets resumed, assuming he even makes it through his 4 years. He's getting up there. So.
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, okay. Did I have anything else I want to make sure to mention? Hunter Biden pled guilty.
Yes.
Anybody care? And actually, and the important thing is, this was not a plea deal with the prosecution.
No, he just pled guilty, period.
He's just pled guilty and is throwing himself at the mercy of the judge. And basically the play here is the judge is going to be like, this is the kind of case that normally doesn't even come to trial. You paid back the money to the IRS. This one's the IRS case, not the gun case. You paid back the money. Normally prosecutors don't even go after that. And so he's hoping the judge will give him a suspended sentence or a light probation or something like that, and it's over, or fine. We'll see how that goes. The one other thing to mention, which we don't need to talk a lot about, is before next time we talk, the Harris versus Trump presidential debate should have happened. It's scheduled for Tuesday, unless there is a last minute, somebody decides not to do it after all. We expect to have that happen on Tuesday. It is the same rules as that Biden debate. So Harris had wanted to try to change it, but it had already been agreed by the Biden campaign beforehand, and Trump was not changing it because it worked well for him last time. Essentially, it's no audience, and there's going to be their microphones are going to be muted when it's not your turn to talk. The Biden campaign had wanted that because they thought the crowd would energize Trump. Turns out the crowd also would have energized Biden, and he wasn't as good with no crowd. And they were also worried about Trump, bullying and speaking over Biden and sort of winning in that sort of free form engagement where they were just sort of yelling at each other because Trump can yell louder. The Harris campaign wanted microphones on the whole time because they figured, well, yes, Trump may try to interrupt. Harris would also be able to real time jump in and fact check and stuff. When Trump said something wrong or stupid, she could just jump in and say something herself. She could do some interrupting. They tried to spin it as Trump's own folks are afraid of having an open mic because he might say something stupid. And I'm sure that's part of it. But a part of it was Harris wanted to interrupt herself. So apparently they've had to reshuffle some of their debate prep because they were really hoping mics would be on, and they're not going to be. So they have to adjust their approach a little bit. Anyway, that's it. We'll see how the debate goes. I expect this will go better for Harris than it went for Biden. At least I fucking hope so. You know, it would be horrible.
Yeah.
But I think Harris is pretty good at this, and Trump has been deteriorating further over the last couple months and doesn't seem like he really knows how the hell to handle somebody like Harris. And so he's been increasingly incoherent. There was a long clip of him answering a question about childcare policy that made no sense whatsoever, and that kind of stuff is just repeating.
Trillions.
Yeah, he's somehow
so much money.
Well, he's somehow going to solve childcare because of tariffs. That
and the deficit is going to be zero.
Yeah, I mean,
they're all just going to pay.
Reading the whole thing, like, I actually think I know what it was trying to say. Being generous, he was saying, we're going to have such a great economy with so much extra money coming in that solving childcare won't be a problem. I think that's a one-sentence version of what he was trying to say. But the actual reality was a long, rambling paragraph of nonsense and things that weren't related and things that... And the point is not that one specific thing. Maybe I'll drop the audio of that in after this. After the closing music, I'll drop the audio of that in if you want to listen to it. But it's just that he's increasingly incoherent, and this is just the latest example. So I think part of what Harris is hoping is that he goes on his long rambling things of nothing, and she can jump in and appear competent and know what she's doing and blah, blah, blah. Now, whether that makes a difference to a lot of people, I don't know. Also, Trump has shown in these debates in the past that he can sort of hold it together and be reasonable for the first part of a debate. He usually doesn't make it to the end, but like for the first few questions, he can usually be somewhat disciplined. He just can't make it the whole 90 minutes. And at some point he falls apart.
Well, let's see how much medication he's able to take before this one. So anyway.
Well, yeah, people always speculate that, that's because he's on something and then it wears off. But there you go with the unfounded, unverifiable, information, like misinformation, whatever. It's just like, we just put out there that Donald Trump takes drugs, performance enhancing drugs for the debate. Like, there's no evidence of that, but people speculate. So,
you can't say with absolute certainty it's not happening either.
Your sound just went wonky. Try that again.
You can't say with absolute certainty that it's not happening either.
No, you can't. Well, again, and that's your Steele dossier issue. Like, so much is unverifiable, and a lot of the kinds of things that people who are pushing, influence campaigns concentrate on is the things that are unverifiable one way or another, but sound reasonable. So, anyway, we are done. Yvonne is falling asleep. I've got a call coming up with my dad momentarily. Zoom, not even a phone call. I'm doing Zoom with my dad now.
Zoom. Zoom.
Oh, you remember the TV show Zoom? Since you mentioned it,
No, I was thinking of the Mazda commercial.
Oh, I remember the Mazda commercial too. But there was
Zoom.
Yeah, but do you remember Zoom, the TV show Zoom, when we were kids?
No,
you don't. Oh, come on. I mean, I know you watched
Ghostbusters.
Well, and you remembered 3-2-1 Contact when we talked about it.
Yes, I remember 3-2-1 Contact.
Zoom was like
3,
that 2, kind 1, of
contact.
a less sciencey thing, but the same vibe. I would say Zoom has the same vibe. Anyway, we are done. Go to curmudgeons-corner.com. You can find our archives. You can find links to all the ways to contact us. You can find a link to our YouTube, where we're still doing live streams. This time you only saw a video of me because Yvonne was afraid to come on camera because of his night. I don't think anyone watched the live stream this time, but if you prefer video, you can show up and you can go and you can watch this on video, the unedited version. And by the way, the thing we use to record this, Riverside, does auto generated AI sort of clips or AI generated clips. It's not, the AI isn't generated us talking, but it picks clips from the show for social media sharing. And Alex really wants me to start putting some of those on TikTok. He put one up and said, hey, if this thing gets, likes, more than one like, then, we'll make an official Curmudgeon's Corner TikTok and put some of these clips on there. I don't really want to take the time and effort to do it, but like it got 2 likes. So like,
Whoa.
Let me know if anybody, one of them was you, Yvonne. Let me know if anybody out there actually really would be interested in seeing an official Curmudgeon's Corner TikTok.
I did.
Okay. You did. You liked it. That has like little 30-second snippets of Yvonne and I talking on video from these shows. It's like where the AI thinks that like this 30 seconds was really cool and interesting and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes it's right and sometimes it's not. If there is demand, I may do it. I don't know. I made my editing process a lot shorter, but I don't want to reverse that by adding more things I'm doing. So anyway. Okay, we're done. You can also find on there our Patreon, where at various levels we will send you a postcard, we will send you a mug, we will talk about you on the show, whatever. And at $2 a month or more, we will invite you to our Curmudgeon's Corner Slack, where Yvonne and I and others are chatting throughout the week and sharing links. Yvonne, do you have anything from the Slack you would like to share this week before we say our final goodbye?
I not this week. No.
If we hadn't talked about it earlier, I would have done the chase glitch then, but then we would have ended up talking about it forever. I will, since you are not, I will do one thing from the Slack, which is a short one. Not Starlink, Starliner has landed.
It landed. There you go.
Without the astronauts, they left the astronauts on the space station for safety because they were not sure if it would be safe or not, and they sent it back uncrewed, and it apparently has landed successfully. I haven't heard word if they've examined it and it's all perfect inside, and the astronauts would have been fine, but I presume so. It looks like it landed essentially without major incident. There was one thruster they deactivated before it even left the space station because it had issues. And apparently there was at least one other thruster that acted up during the landing process, but they had plenty of redundancy and it landed anyway. So, but, whether or not Boeing's going to get another shot at this, still undetermined. So.
Well, actually, my understanding is that Bill Nelson, the director of NASA, saying that no, they're going to keep going with this. They definitely need this to work.
They don't want to be completely reliant on SpaceX. They want to have alternatives.
Correct. And so so they're going to keep going.
I wouldn't want to be completely reliant on Elon either, right?
Right. Yeah.
And just the general notion that they want redundancy, they want multiple systems so that if something goes wrong with one, they've got something else to fall back on.
Well, we got stuck with it for a while when the space shuttle, died,
and we had to rely on the Russians because there was no alternative. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So.
Okay, we are done. Thanks, everybody. Goodbye. Have a good week. All that stuff. And stay on after the outro music, and I'll include the little clip of Donald Trump. Anyway, we'll talk to you next week. Goodbye. Say goodbye, Yvonne.
Bye.
Okay, that's it. For the people watching the edited version, you'll have the Donald Trump. For people watching live, I'm hitting stop. Bye.
Bye.